Party people, welcome once again to the Party of One podcast, the actual play RPG podcast where the gaming table is always set for two. I'm your host as always, Jeff Stormer. This week on the show, I am joined by Sam Dunnewold for a game of Desperation Dead House. Sam is the host of the Dice Exploder, an Annie-nominated podcast about tabletop RPG design in which every episode he sits down with a rotating roster of designers and breaks down a single game mechanic as deeply and as comprehensively as they possibly can. It is, as Sam puts it, Song Exploder for tabletop games. And frankly, it is an incredible podcast. It is these wonderful, in-depth conversations. Sam is such a good host and interviewer and is so able to precisely pinpoint what makes a particular game mechanic really shine, and in conversation with these designers able to really talk about what makes it tick, what makes it special, and how to really use it. It is such a useful resource for designers, players, people who like games. I really love Dice Exploder. It's a great podcast. I really think you should check it out. Sam is also a game designer. He just today, at the time of this recording, released a new game called Band-Aids and Bullet Holes, which is a deck-building role-playing game about a tight-knit community of assassins inspired by stories like Kill Bill and John Wick. You can find his game design work at sdunnewold.itch.io. You can find Dice Exploder at diceexploder.com, or you can check the show notes for all of that stuff and more. As I said, I sat down with Sam to play Desperation Hell House. Desperation, released by Bully Pulpit Games, is a pair of small role-playing games built on the same dark tone of mechanics, built around gothic storytelling experiences steeped in real, actual history, designed to tell dark, lyrical stories about people pushed far past their limits. We are specifically sitting down to play Dead House. Set during the Great Blizzard of 1888, we are playing out the stories of the people of the tiny town of Neola, Kansas, who find themselves unprepared for the teeth of the storm. Supplies and sanities dwindle in equal measure, and we find out who lives and who will be added to the Dead House. This game is really fascinating in its particular approach, in the way that you have a cast of established characters and you're kind of deciding which moves impact which characters and which characters take which actions out of a deck of set cards. It is horrifying and thrilling in equal measure. This game is truly something special. I was really blown away by it. I really think that you're going to love it, the story that we told, and I can't wait for you to hear it. You can find more information about Desperation at bullypulpitgames.com, or you can check the show notes for more information. Now, a few things to discuss before we dive in. First, some content warnings. There is some heavy subject matter in this game. I'm just going to read through the full list of things that are included in the game. I'm just going to read through the full list of content warnings provided in the game. This includes some elements of harm to animals and children, claustrophobia, death, genocide, impurity, mental illness, murder, pregnancy, religion, and suicide. There is also at least one brief reference to plagues and pandemics. Listener discretion is, of course, advised. And as a note, Sam and I were in regular communication. We had safety tools in play. You hear them come up at various points during the show. We were having an open conversation about what we were comfortable with. We never stepped outside of our comfort zones. The best safety tool is, as always, the fact that we were caring about each other and looking out for each other during play. Next up, two things that I want to shout out if you enjoy this episode. First, right now, at this exact moment, you can head over to diceexploder.com and hear the newest episode of Dice Exploder, in which I sit down with Sam to discuss the Speak Your Truth mechanic in Desperation, and particularly in Desperation Dead House. This game rips, and getting to talk about it on Dice Exploder and getting to kind of mutually share the experience of you hearing us play the game and then getting to hear us talk about that mechanic on the podcast. Thrilling, delightful. I'm so happy that it worked out this way. You can find more information about that at diceexploder.com. Secondly, if you enjoyed this episode and you want to hear more sort of historical survival horror, stay tuned to the podcast, because in a couple weeks on September 11th, we are going to be dropping the second part of a special Desperation 2-parter, in which I sat down with games designer Jason Morningstar to play Desperation the Isabel, a similarly horrifying story about a cod fishing vessel off the coast of San Francisco that gets, well, frankly, swept out to sea, in which all hell breaks loose. You'll be able to hear that on the Party of One feed in a couple weeks, which brings me to my third and final point. We're on vacation. This is the final episode of the season. We are taking a couple weeks off. We are taking our summer vacation. We will be back on September 11th with Desperation Part 2, The Isabel, with Jason Morningstar. In the meantime, there are 420 previous episodes of the show you can go check out. If you want recommendations, you can hit me up on Twitter, Blue Sky, Tumblr, wherever. Jeff Stormer, Party of One Pod, wherever you're on social media, and I will happily tell you a cool new episode to check out. And last but certainly not least, we've got some Patreon backers to shout out. Thank you to our newest Patreon backers, Hungry Badger, Alexander Keene, and Bill Heydrich for your support of the show, as well as everything else that we create. Your support means a great deal. Patreon backers get access to exclusive new podcasts like Party of One Plus One, which is our new side series focused on sequel episodes and deeper dives. Solo shows like Party of None, specialty podcasts and one-off releases, and all kinds of cool stuff, as well as early and unedited access to Party of One episodes. You can find more information at patreon.com/JeffStormer. And with all that said, let's go ahead and throw it over to me in the past so that he can start with the show. Take it past me. Thanks, future me. I am really very, very excited. I'm sitting down with Sam Dunnewold today. Sam, thank you so much for coming on Party of One.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
I have been looking forward to this recording all day. I'm admittedly a little nervous about it, but I'm also thrilled. There's this real sense of anticipation that I'm feeling that I cannot be more hyped for, and I hope that you are feeling a similar energy as we sit down today.
Oh, why are you nervous about how much gruesome destruction we're about to rack upon this town, or something else?
That, a little bit. I think when you put it like that, you're right. Why am I nervous? This is nothing. Before we get into why we are why we are unleashing destruction on a small town, why don't you take a moment and let our lovely listeners at home know about anything that you've got going on that you might want them to know about?
Yeah, hi. So my name's Sam Dunnewold. I am a screenwriter living in Los Angeles. I also host a RPG podcast called Dice Exploder, where every week we take an RPG mechanic and just go deep on the design of that mechanic. It's very fun. Have a rotating co-host. Good stuff. Jeff, we'll have to have you on sometime at some point.
I really fucking love Dice Exploder is the thing.
Thank you so much.
It is one of those premises that stands out to me as it is such a wonderful look at the art of design. It is such a refreshing way to look at what we do in the art form, and I just being able to sit down and go, this is I always love the analogy of game mechanics as toys in a toy box. They are, we don't necessarily need them, but having a toy in front of us is sometimes fun and cool, and the ability to just sit down and go, this is the toy that I like, this is why I like it, and this is how it relates, and this is the themes and message that are wrapped up in this toy. It just is a very good look at the things that are happening with the games that we play underneath the surface.
Yeah, and all of that is exactly why I started it, but I really felt like there was a gap in our community of really breaking down the nuts and bolts examples of design. We talk a lot in the big picture, but I really love just going really deep on something. I think that's just so much fun. So yeah. That's the show. I also make games. You can go to Dunnewold, my first initial last name, at itch.io and find all my stuff. I think by the time this drops, will be several months past the release of my potentially 2-player game. Maybe there'll be an episode of that here at some point. But I've got a John Wick-inspired game of bloody vengeance called Band-Aids and Bullet Holes that's probably out by now, too.
Oh, be still my beating. Here, I've said this so often that the one of the things that I love about doing this show is this segment where I just get to go, hey, tell me about cool things that I should be excited about.
Yeah.
Because it works every time where I hear about a cool thing and get really excited about it. This is a secret weapon of my job.
Yeah. Do you want to hear the mechanic that will one day make it onto Dice Exploder from Band-Aids and Bullet Holes?
You know that I do.
It is a PBTA style move called Fight 2 Dozen Guys.
Fuck, that's a good move name. God damn it, that's a very good move name.
Yeah, it's a deck builder RPG too. There's so many things about this game I'm really excited about, but that's
I can't wait to take a look at this. I really can't wait to take a look. We got to play a game. We have our own game to play here today, but I'm forcing myself to not just fall down this rabbit hole.
I'll slide you the PDF after we're done.
I would love that. But today we have a game to play. We are playing Desperation Dead House. This is one of a 2-pack of role-playing games by Bully Pulpit Games. They are card-based games about outlining horrifying situations rooted in history to small, desolate places where people have to make desperate decisions. We are playing Dead House, which is a small community in Kansas making their way through the Great Blizzard of 1888. As you can imagine, it is going to be a lighthearted jaunt that we are going to just really have a joyful, wonderful experience with.
Yeah. I can't wait for the stuff after the starvation.
Yeah, right. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
A little bit of a safety note. Sam, you and I have talked about we've sort of talked about our boundaries, what we are engaging with in the game. Some specific content warnings noted in the game that I'm going to shout out here is there are cards dealing with animals, children, claustrophobia, death, genocide, impurity, mental illness, murder, pregnancy, religion, and suicide. It's unclear if we are going to really specifically delve into any of those topics here at the top of the game, but I wanted a full list of the things that may come up, just so that if you as listener are hearing things you're like, oh, I don't want to listen to an episode too wrapped up in that, you listener discretion is advised.
Yeah.
So, with all of that said, let us go ahead and start mapping out our community, mapping out the people that live here, and figure out what is going on in this town.
Oh, I can't wait.
So, preparing to play, we have a few decks of cards in front of us. We have the winter, autumn, and hell decks, as well as a deck of locations and people. We are going to start by laying our location cards, which are the places in our community, on the table as mapped out by the deck of cards. We're going to draw a card. It's going to tell us to place it somewhere on our table in front of us, which I will screen cap, and you can find probably in the show art as well as a link in the show notes. But for now, I will. Would you like to draw the first card, or should I?
Sure, I'll do it.
All right.
The Mitchell Farm. This is the Mitchell Farm. Look, that's his name. Look, that's his name, is the best around at coaxing wheat out of this barren ground. Telly, that's her name, is endlessly pregnant and cannot keep a child. Put this card between the Dead House and the Hetzel House. But those things are not on the map yet, so I'll just put it over here.
And that's the thing that the game notes is that we will draw cards out of order. So this as we fill out the town, we're going to start to see things map out and figure out where things relate to one another.
Yeah.
So I am picking up the post office. The post office. This is the United States Post Office, a grand title for what amounts to a horse stable made out of greasy wood repurposed from a collapsed buffalo skinner's camp. Inside there's a table, a chair, a safe, and a pile of hay. We are going to place this very close to the town's house. So I'm going to place this right here in the center-ish of town and have you draw our next card.
All right. I got the Dead House. This is the Dead House. This is where Neola stores her dead. Neola is notably the name of the town. This is where Neola stores her dead when the ground is too hard to dig. That time is coming soon and lasts for half the year. The cemetery is here too. Put this card on the edge of town. Oh, I'm going to put it right next to the Mitchell Farm. That sounds fun.
I know they mentioned the Mitchell Farm is near it, so that's a good place for it.
All right.
We've got the town's house. This is going to go near our post office. The town's house. This is the town's house. It is the newest building in Neola, and it is octagonal after Fowler's A Home for All or the Gavel Wall and Octagon mode of building. Bobbly and Ralph Jr., Rosie, Frank, and little Teresa are Catholics from far away. We are going to put this in the center of town, where Ralph is the Neola postmaster. So with that actually feels perfect because that is very near where we put our post office. It's sort of directly to the south of our town's house. Give us our next location.
Wait, I would be remiss if I didn't quick shout out the 99% Invisible episode about Fowler's A Home for All or the octagonal house. It was these weird octagon buildings that they built for superstition reasons. I love them so much. I love that one exists in this game.
I will link this in the show notes and also take time to listen to that episode because I am fascinated.
Yeah, it's wild. All right, okay, we've got the Sharp House. This is the Sharp House. Old Swyla and her daughter Maddie, and Maddie's husband James Mitchell, and all their half-feral children. James is an odd job man, and Maddie takes in mending. Put this card close to the Dead House.
This is the Hetzel farm. It is the oldest in Neola. Henry Hetzel and his strange granddaughter Velma. It boasts an orchard of shunted apple, peach, and cherry trees. Place this card far from the dead house. So we are going to place this in the furthest possible corner, all the way here on the corner of the map.
All right, we got the Mitchell Barn. This is the Mitchell Barn. It's a modest but squared away building that Look Mitchell ordered as pre-cut lumber from Sears and Roebuck. It would be a nice place for dances if anyone in Neola were to bend in that direction. Put this card very close to the Mitchell farm.
I love the slow mapping out of this town. Like, this is good. This is good vibe building.
It is. It's nice to just check in on everywhere a little bit, you know?
It's a cool, this is a cool atmospheric development. We have here Pearson's Shack. It is a smoky little affair, cobbled from wood, pulled out of the church ruins, a broken wagon and some cottonwood trees, and a waxed cotton tarp. Pearson is usually squatting like a toad here, ruminating on the inevitable and making people uneasy. Place this card far away from any house or farm. I'm going to put this all the way up. There are some hills up here in the top right corner. That feels like a good place for a shack.
Speaking of which, I've got the Hill. It was important to the Wichita I used to live around here. After the war, they were all moved west, but they buried some stuff in the hill before the army arrived. Somebody dug it all up soon after and kept the pretty bits and burned the rest. There's a single spindly black locust tree at the top. Put this card wherever you like. Ooh. I want to put this somewhere weird. I'm going to put this like between the Mitchell farm and all our friends over on the west side of town and downtown. So you have to walk over the hill to get to Town's house in the post office.
I like that. I've got here the Ruin, which is, I believe, our final card. We've got here the Ruin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, this is our final card. So we have the Ruin. What a good final call. What a good final location. This is the Ruin. A stone foundation, some charred timbers of a well that really ought to be filled in. A Church of God preacher and his family built a half-assed church here, but they couldn't take it, and the fire that burned them out was probably a blessing. We placed this between the hill and the dead house, which is great. I'm gonna place this right here. I love that puts it like directly, almost touching the Mitchell barn and farm. Like it feels like this is an entire section of town that has been burned out, and that is a good evocative thing. It also means that the Hetzel farm and Pearson Shack are like so far from everything else in Neola, which is super, super fun.
The Hetzel's farm is trying to escape Neola. They don't want to be here anymore.
Okay, this is good. I feel like I'm feeling the energy take shape already. Which means that it's time to meet the people of Neola, Kansas. We have here a deck of people cards with some names. I'll draw the first one since you drew the first one last time.
Great.
I'm Velma Hetzel. I run my grandpa Henry's farm, and that's my days gone, my weeks, my years. It wasn't what I planned for in life, but it's what I got. Still, I dream of more exciting things and read about them in books. I am well read, but bored. Place this farm next to the Hetzel farm. Place this card next to the Hetzel farm and speak Velma's truth. Velma is a prodigious writer. Is the detail I'm going to add in. There are a lot of journals and booklets in cabinets and shelves and bookshelves scattered around that Velma has been writing. There are a handful of like poetry books that she has collected. Mm-hmm. That is the detail that I want to throw in. That is Velma's truth.
So is it poetry specifically? Do you have like a murder mystery novel in you or anything like that?
I think what Velma is working on, especially in 1888, let me look something up.
Yeah.
I think Velma is really big on poetry at this moment. Is really big on like very traditional, very formal poetry. Mm-hmm. I don't know if necessarily there is a novel tucked in here, but there is certainly enough for like a collected hardcover edition of poetry that will likely never be published.
What a shame. What a loss for the world.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I've got Look Mitchell. I am Look Mitchell. Me and Telly built this farm with our own hands. One day, I want to pass it on to my children when we finally have some. Until my brother James got married, he was basically my kid. I am hardworking, but naive. Put this card next to the Mitchell farm and speak Look's truth. I think, look, I just really resent James. He spent his whole life fucking around, not doing any work. I had to raise him myself, and he turned into this just like worthless little guy. And now I've got him like married off to, oh man, who did he marry? Now he's all married off, and like, he's someone else's problem, but I have not been able to let go of the fact that he's like my problem, and he's gonna keep being my problem. Like, I can't get my fingers out of his family.
I'm gonna make canon the fact that that Look doesn't quite remember who James married. That you saying that felt like such a good character beat that like I think is tucked into my brain.
God,
that like
there's only like 2 people in town it could have been, and he still can't keep track of it.
It truly was like you're not my problem anymore.
Yeah.
Experience to the point where it's like whoever he married, I don't care.
You just can't quite give it up though. Yeah.
I've got here Pearson.
Oh yeah.
I'm Pearson and I live alone. I built a little shack, and when they came to throw me out as an unpleasant parasite, I waved the deed in their faces. It is my land, fee simple, and if I want to live on it alone in a miserable, leaky hut, that is my right. I am fiery, but strange. Place a card next to Pearson's shack and speak Pearson's truth. Pearson was back east a lawyer. Pearson... The phrase like I waved the deed in their faces. Pearson was a man of the law. Pearson and has kind of clung to that. I think that's kind of what not unclear what pushed him to become a hermit in the woods from that life, but like it's also not necessarily an easy life, but I think that like is very prone to that sort of legal arguments. But that argument style, like documentation is very prone to making things litigious concern, even if informally. Like there is an order and there is legal debate, and that is Pearson's immediate mode of attack.
Yeah. This is going to go right well into Fate, who I have drawn. I'm Fate. Fate is short for Lafayette, and I'm not from around here. I came here from a place far away where people wanted to kill me. There's no going back, and that's all you get. I'm likable, but dangerous. Put this card next to the home of the family he's boarding with and speak Fate's truth. I think Fate and Pearson came here together.
Oh, okay. Love that.
I think people did not like the two of them living together, getting along as well as they did. And I think Pearson said, well, we will just go find ourselves some land and build a little shack there. And Fate followed along, and now here they both are. And I think Fate is much less fuck you to the people who would like try to drive them out. I think Fate is more like laughs at those people. Fate is like, okay, sure. And like goes back to conning people at cards and playing the fiddle.
Love that. Love that dearly. I have here Henry Hetzel. I am Henry Hetzel. I was among the first settlers in Neola, and the place hasn't been kind to me, but I hang on out of sheer spite. My granddaughter Velma helps me keep the farm running. Of her parents, the less said the better. I am resourceful, but frail. Also placed next to the Hetzel farm and speak Henry's truth. Henry did not really want Neola to be a community. Hetzel Farm is so far from everything else that, like, he wanted a small crop of land where his family could live. I think he and Pearson have more in common than they realize. Like, they have a similar sensibility of, like, I want to be left alone, I want my shit, and I don't want you to bother me. And the fact that a community built around where his farm was, I do not think he is happy about that fact.
Yeah, Henry is like Pearson if he had another several decades to take root.
Yes. One could imagine Pearson could become Henry in time.
Yeah. Great. I've got Junior. I'm Ralph Towns Jr. I ride I ride herd over my little brothers and sisters, Rosie, Frank, and Teresa Towns, and I long for the day when I can set out on my own. It isn't too far away, but it isn't that close either. I'm ambitious, but sullen. Put this card next to the Towns house and speak Junior's truth. I don't want to live in this podunk nowhere town. I want to go back to Chicago, where the family's from. I want to, go back there and, make a name for myself in show business.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Got it. All right, next up I have here, I've got Bobley Towns. I am Bobley Towns. The day Ralph brought me to Neola, I cried because it is a lonely, barren prison, and I had been promised freedom and paradise. It hasn't exactly grown on me, but I have solace in my growing family. I am talented, but bitter. Paste this card next to the Towns house and speak Bobley's truth. I think Bobley, does not want to go back to Chicago, only because that is where she hears Junior talking about wanting to go. I think that, you know what it is? Junior has adopted a lot of Bobley's old dreams.
Yeah.
Junior is the, I'm leaving to go somewhere to go make it in show business, because Bobley's I am here in Neola and I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, all right. I have Ralph Towns here to round the family out. I am Ralph Towns Sr. I am postmaster here. All the government Neola is ever going to have. That's a point of pride. I'm also Catholic, which sets me and mine apart from the other families. I am kind, but arrogant. Put this card next to the Towns house and speak Ralph's truth. It's great to be here. Neola is fabulous. My family's very happy here. We had to leave Chicago because of some trouble, but broadly speaking, it's a pleasure to be in town, and I'm sure the people here are all very happy to have me.
Fuck. Okay, great. Great. I've got Telly Mitchell. Telly Mitchell. My given name is Telefers, but everyone, including my husband, calls me Telly. I am always pregnant. I'm pregnant right now. It has never worked out. Look, it stinks, but it will. It stinks, it will someday. I am gentle but melancholy. We place this next to the Mitchell farm and speak Telly's truth. Telly, I think, believes in Neola more than anyone else. Beyond, this is where her family is going to grow up. This town has to, if anyone believes that this town must thrive, I think it is Neola.
Mm-hmm. It is Telly, you mean?
Or Telly, yes, thank you. If anybody believes that Neola must, not only will thrive, but must thrive, it is Telly Mitchell. Telly is the person that believes this community means something. Mm-hmm. Telly and Henry Hetzel are on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Means something whether Henry likes it or not.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. I've got James Mitchell. I'm James Mitchell. My older brother Luke is like a father to me, and Swyla Sharp is like a mother, and I married her daughter Maddie, and everything is going great. Lacking any skills, I do odd jobs around Neola. I am charming, but lazy. Yeah. Everything is going great. It's nice to have some extra folks in town. The Ralph, the Towns house, the Towns family. You pick up some extra odd jobs for them. I'm kind of fascinated by Pearson and Fate. I don't know what's going on there, but they're weird. I like playing cards with them, even if I lose a lot.
I really love the idea. The vibe that I get is that James and Ralph are fast friends in their particular arrogance.
Yeah.
Is very funny to two people in this environment just being man, sure is great out here.
God, and it's Fate and Ralph and James playing cards, and Ralph losing lots of money, James losing a little money, and Fate being see ya, I'm going back to my husband.
Yep. Everything's going up. Everything's coming up. Fate.
Yep.
All right. I've got Swyla Sharp. I am Swyla Sharp, the oldest, and if we're being honest and don't mind a pun, the sharpest woman in town. My daughter and her husband live with me in the house I built with my late husband, Reeve. I am brilliant, but cruel. Ralph and James think things are going great in Neola. And they talk about this because they don't see what is going on underneath. Telly is desperate, like sees what is happening on the edges and is desperate to right the ship. Henry has written off the entire thing. Swyla sees it for what it is and is like, everything is going great because there is opportunity for me to manipulate.
Yeah.
Like, Swyla is very aware of all of the things building under the surface and is very happy because it gives her threads to pull. It gives her things to manipulate. It gives her opportunities to, like, ensure that things are good for the Sharp House.
I'm going to pause and say this idea out loud so I don't forget it. You should come on Dice Exploder to talk about this game, and we can release them at the same time.
That's really good. That's a really good fucking idea.
Yeah, because I've been meaning to do this game specifically on Dice Exploder too. So, yeah, we'll sort it out. Okay. Maddie Mitchell is our last person to meet here. I am Maddie Sharp Mitchell. Everyone knows me as old Swyla's headstrong daughter, and they were as surprised as I was when I fell for the Mitchell boy, but fall I did. The two of us are young and in love, and that's that. I am attractive, but unwise. Yeah, I think Maddie loves James, sticks up for him despite knowing that he's kind of a lazy piece of crap, and really doesn't like the Towns. Like, the Towns moved in and they think they're better than us. Ralph just doesn't have any idea what he's doing. He's got his head stuck up his ass. Bobley's just complaining all the time about our wonderful community here in Neola. And those kids are running around like they're going to be the top of the world. And really, they should they should admit that the place we have here is amazing.
Love that. Great energy. This is great. Okay, so now that we have built the town, we've met the people, it's time to play through the seasons. We find ourselves in the autumn of 1888. How this is going to work is we have 12 cards in front of us. We are going to theoretically remove, but more accurately, simply not play 2 of the cards in this deck. We are going to take turns playing a card. We read it out loud. We decide who it applies to, and then we speak that character's truth accordingly. Do I have that correct?
That's right by me.
All right. Well, then, would you like to draw the first card or should I?
You did the last deck, so I'll do this one.
All right. Well, let me recall this card real quick, and then we'll go from there.
You can just delete that one. It could be one of the ones we skip.
Oop, Too late.
All right.
Too late. Screw you.
Here we go.
All right. Give me a first card.
First card. A nightmare. Oh, hold on. I want to ask you just on a technical note. So the way the book says to do this is to read the card, think, say who's saying the card, and then read it out loud. So I think I'm gonna do that. Of just like take a moment to read the card and
take a moment, read it, and then when you know who it applies to, read the card text and speak their truth.
All right. This card is going to be read by Junior. Towns Jr. It's a nightmare. I dreamed of being trapped. Everything was white, and I couldn't breathe or move, and it was cold, cold as death. Perhaps I was dead. When I woke, I was hoarse from screaming, and worried faces looked down at me in the guttering light of a wax candle. Speak your truth. Junior has always had nightmares, and maybe has a little bit of a gift of prophecy here. I also think that this is just like, Bobley and Ralph are already worried about Junior and like, kind of how big his head is at times, how head in the clouds he is. And having nightmares on top of that, it's a lot. The best case scenario for this kid is he pulls his head out of the sky. But the worst case is that he like stays up there, tries to do something ridiculous, and then succumbs to these like nightmares and whatever is wrong with his mind. And I think Junior's just basically fine. He just had a bad night. But his parents are really unfairly worried about him.
Okay. I will draw our next card. Okay, this is Henry Hetzel. And this is the message. Geese flying south rest in the marsh of the Nanesca River. This year they are strangely exhausted, and I tramped out there and shot one. but I shot it wrong and it died badly in a sad little pinwheel of feathers and blood. It looked diseased, and it all seems like a message. I think Henry has this experience, shoots this goose, it dies wrong, but I think very specifically he does not tell this to anyone, and just quietly, like, I think quietly stops unloading his rifle when he stashes it at the end of the night.
Mm-hmm. Do you think he blames other people in the town for what's going on with the birds?
I do. I think that this message is an affirmation of what Henry already sees about Neola.
Yeah.
This is pure confirmation. This is, things were good, things were fine. Now there's a community and things are no longer fine.
Yeah.
This is a sign that the land that he lives on is turning wrong.
All right. All right. This is going to be James Mitchell. And it is, no, you know what? This is going to be Look Mitchell. Tidying up. Someone has to clean out the dead house, and the unenviable task has fallen to me. The unenviable task has fallen to me. It is a squat stone octagon, the only stone building in Neola, and comically small. I sweep up the dust and make it sound to keep out vermin. I imagine bodies stacked here like cordwood until the ground thaws. So Look is doing all of James's odd jobs for him, because James won't get off his ass and do them, and Look's just becoming increasingly resentful about this. But it's also the kind of thing where he's like doing them before James even has a chance to.
Sure.
And so while while Look is thinking about all the bodies in here, he's imagining James is among them and wondering how he feels about that.
This is fate. This is fate. 7-3. I learned from a tattered scrap of newspaper that the Detroit Wolverines have won the National League pennant over the Indianapolis Hoosiers. This cheered me, and I clung to the news for some reason. I told everyone, but no one in Neola gives a damn. The score was 7-3. This is Fate and Pearson left, came from Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
This is home. This is the act of checking the weather from the place that you used to call home, and caring about that even though you no longer live there. So the fact that Fate tells people is Fate trying to hold on to a piece of the place that he left behind.
How does Fate feel about the fact that Pearson doesn't care?
I think maybe that's the first moment of real schism between the two of them since they left, right? They left a pair, they left a couple, they left in love, and for as miserable as Pearson is, they support each other, they love each other, they care about each other. This is a pretty happy partnership. And this is the first moment Fate has kind of in his mind docked it as we would go back one day. And Pearson's I don't have any reason to return to that place.
Yeah.
This is the first moment that there's a real schism in this relationship.
Yeah. Sad. All right.
Everything unfolding amidst this one tiny, very, very bittersweet gay domestic drama is hitting. It's hitting.
Yeah, listen, I'm not a fan of burying your gays, but in this game it's hard not to bury everyone, so we'll sort it out.
It is. We've made the pact going into this game.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is Velma. The card is a gilded, I think this is Velma Hetzel. The card is A Gilded Age. It's 1887, and progress marches on. I cling to scraps of news like a rat line. Grover Cleveland is president. Verdi's Ada is popular. Down in Argonia, in Sumner County, they have elected a woman as mayor. Her name is Susanna Salter. In Chicago, the Haymarket anarchists are waiting to be hung, and here I am in Neola. Velma is like the only other adult in this town who feels the same way Fate does, except for like she's homesick for a place she's never been, right? She wants to be out there and experience these things, to experience the world. I'm distracted by an airplane going by over my head and thinking about audio editing. It
That's the nature of the beast.
Yeah. She wants to go have feelings about all these things and capture them in her poetry. And instead, all she can do is capture the feeling of wanting to be there. And she like knows that she could open up and like feel so many more things if she could just get out of this town.
What news, like what is the piece of news that has hit her the most, or that like she comes back to the most as she thinks about all of the things happening in this exciting time to be stuck in Neola?
I think it's Susanna Salter, the woman mayor. Like, I think she wants to go to her. She almost wants to be a journalist. She wants to go to Susanna and like ask her, what compelled you to do this? Like, how did you even, like, what drives you? How can I be like you? Like, how you've done this incredible thing and like risen above what your lot in life was when you were born. And I want to do that. I want to do the same thing. Please tell me how. I think she writes a poem about Susanna Salter.
All right. I think this is Swyla Sharp, and this is the well. I have a good sound well, 35 feet deep and lined with stone, and I keep milk and cheese down it to stay cool. But today there's no milk and no cheese. It was stolen in the night and hatefully replaced with something loathsome. Now it's poisoned, and I know who did this. I think this is Swyla. I think that it is, it's like a poisoned hunk of meat that like has been left in the water of the well so that it like poisons the wall, like the well water, and like you've got to like wait that out before you can even pull water from the well. You got to wait for it to like flow and clean itself. And Swyla like knows who did this. I'm trying to decide who Swyla thinks. It's probably Hetzel. I think Swyla probably thinks that this is like, as just especially since we have so little like long-standing grudges built up, I think that this is a good opportunity to just be like, Swyla thinks that this is Hetzel just terrorizing someone in Neola.
Yeah.
This is a long-standing grudge that has defined the town, and Swyla like notes it, right? Like, and I think mentions it to James, knowing that they hang out often, to kind of be like, you know, he tried to kill us. Next time you go and play cards together, maybe mention that. Maybe think about that next time you go hang out with him and the gambler out in the woods. Maybe note the fact that he slipped poison into our well. Like clearly sowing conflict and kind of hoping that James, as impulsive, will like throwing matches at a powder keg, hoping that it will explode at the earliest, most convenient opportunity.
Yeah. I want to note that it was Ralph and James and Fate that were playing cards before, but I really like Henry being a part of that group too. And also being able to take money from James and Ralph. Like, Henry feels like he's definitely fucking got it. So I think that's a nice little addition.
Yeah, I completely forgot that, but like I think Henry is like as much as Henry hates Community, that is the closest thing to an acceptable community to him, is a bunch of people that keep the fuck to themselves, they keep to themselves, they don't bother me, and we get together and play cards when I feel like it.
Yeah. Henry's not there every time, for sure. But when he shows up, you know, the mood changes, but he's welcome. He's definitely welcome.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say is the poisoned meat a goose that's been shot?
That feels pretty good.
All right, next card. I think this is Bobley Towns.
That was exactly who I was thinking this would go to.
Mail. A letter arrived for me with desperate news, and I sent a letter in reply, and now the mail is late. The mail is eternally slow. The mail will never arrive. This terrible thing won't be resolved before the snow falls and the roads choke up, and I will have your answer in the spring of 1888, or maybe never. I think Bobley's sister has fallen ill, and she has sent a letter asking, how ill? Like, do I need to come home? What is expected of me? And she has received no reply and no news.
That's great. I love that. Just keeping track of how many cards we've got. I think we've got 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's my card count too.
All right, this is 8. I will draw our next card. This is Signs, and this feels like Telly. Nature is speaking as the seasons change. The wasps are nesting high, and pigs are obsessively gathering sticks. There's been a halo around the sun for 5 days straight. The winter of 1888 is going to be very hard, harder than I can bear. This is... We said that Telly believes in the dream of Neola as a community, which means that, like, this is the thing that she worries about more than anything. She she picks up on things. She also worries about things. And so, like, her noting, I think this is probably not the first time she has, like, noted that it is going to be a difficult season. Oftentimes it's just being keenly aware of, like, the weather changes, but also the thing that either she notes or Look notes, or maybe it's sort of whispered about in general, is like, she's also rarely wrong when she starts worrying about these things. She's often rarely incorrect to worry.
How does she feel about her potential child being born into that winter?
She is actually surprisingly hopeful about that fact. Being born in a tough winter means you grow up tough. It means you grow up a fighter. This child is going to grow up a fighter, and they're going to grow up a fighter because I am going to raise them to be a fighter.
And having a child is a point of light for everyone, right? It's something for her and look forward to.
It's something for the community to rally around at a tough winter, and, like, a strong child that can really maybe one day lead the community is going to come out of it.
Yeah.
All right, this is card number 9.
Card 9.
Okay, this is kicking up a notch.
There's so many good candidates for this.
A lot of good options.
I think this is Maddie Mitchell.
Okay.
Bandits. My team of oxen have been stolen. This is as good as putting a bullet in a brain. If we can't plow, we won't eat next year. No one who lives in Neola could have done it. No one would dare. No one could hide such a crime. It was a bandit of some variety, and they need to be found and punished. Maddie, in all her heart, does not believe that anyone in Neola could do this. She believes that as much as we might have our petty grievances, we are all Neola. We pull together. We are a community. And this is not the act of a community. But she is distraught to find that no one else in town is eager to help her. That has, like, shaken her a little bit. Like, she really expected more of the community to come together around something like this. Aren't they worried about their oxen?
I really like that. This is Unease, and this is Ralph Towns. This land is covered in endless buffalo grass and scourged by constant moaning wind. It's fertile if you know what you're doing, but utterly unforgiving. The summers will burn a person up and the winters will crack your bones. Right now it is in between, and as pleasant as it gets, that won't last long, I think. I think Ralph, this unease is in the air, and I think Ralph, like, notes that this is a lull period. But I think for Ralph, like, this is the thing that stands out to me about the writing of this card is like Ralph is the phrase, if you know what you are doing. Ralph sees himself as knowing what he is doing. Like, this unease is almost a gloat. There is an element here of, it's going to be tough for everybody else. Everybody else doesn't know what they're doing out here. Lucky, I am God's chosen favorite, and everything is going to go perfect for good old Ralph Towns.
Oh my God.
I'm better than all of this. Here's a tug on the jacket lapels and it's tough out here if you're not good.
Yeah.
Kind of sounds like a skill issue.
Hey, he's never farmed a day in his fucking life. Like,
no, I think that he has declared himself an expert farmer and sees the signs of unease and is just unbothered by them.
God, he'll just like come to the Mitchell farm and like tell them how to do their job better. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And with that is 10 cards, which means that it is time to segue into the winter. Let me give this deck a shuffle. You drew the first card out of the autumn deck. I will draw the first card out of the winter deck. All right. Now it is time for me to read the first card off of our winter. This is a good one. I'm excited. This is... Let me look at my people again.
I have a very clear person in mind for this. It's interesting to me. Yeah.
I think I've locked in on who this is. I don't like. Once I say it, I want to hear if it's different than yours. This is Bobley Towns.
Ooh, I had Fate.
I was thinking Fate at first. I was leaning towards Fate, but I think Bobley really puts an interesting perspective on this.
Totally.
Which is part of the joy of the game. Like, this is a cool energy. This is good vibes.
Yeah. My favorite part of this game is like the moment when someone just like does something, puts words in the mouth of someone you completely didn't expect, which isn't exactly what happened here, but still.
So I guess the one thing I should note is reading the first snow. Fall has ended. Winter begins with a fine, heavy powder. All of Neola is snug in their homes. And I keep forgetting her name. Bobley has a slightly different perspective on the vibe of the winter. The prairie is a frozen tomb, and the wolves and coyotes are no longer shy. They smell the pan grease, and every morning their tracks are right outside the door. Every night they sing, and it is a bad sound. It is the sound of my killers biding their time. It weighs on me. We are the outsiders here, not them. Bobley has like given up a lot in coming to Neola, and like abandon a lot of dreams and ideas and hopes for the future. And for a long time, that was just emptiness. It was just an emptiness of like, I'm here, I'm stuck, this is hell. Now that is starting to curdle into a claustrophobia and a paranoia as as the wolves outside the door are starting to circle closer. That is starting to dramatically change how this space feels. It is no longer a space of emptiness. It is no longer a dead end. It is a corner that she has been backed into.
Yeah, is this the first winter for the towns in Neola, or is this really like something? Yeah,
I love that. That's a good energy, because that also ties really nicely into Ralph's sort of unearned confidence. Is like, he has sort of declared himself a farmer. He has never gone through this experience before.
Yeah. Winter's different when you don't have the city to support you.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. And just death on the mind with Bobley, thinking about her sister. All right. Next card. I think this is Telly Mitchell.
That was exactly where my brain was going when I read the card.
Whispers. I am crouched with my ear against the door of the dead house, listening, and there is a voice I know whispering to, I think this is supposed to be me?
Okay.
I'm going to play it that way. And there is a voice I know whispering to me. It is saying terrible things in the snow-hushed night. I can't stop listening. It is telling me the secret truth. In the morning, everyone looks at me differently. Who do we think is the last person who died in Neola?
The last person who died in Neola.
I think it was probably Henry's wife.
Probably Henry's wife. I was also going to posit if the male is an ongoing source of misery.
Oh.
Maybe there was a postman who died previously.
Oh. Yeah.
We can go either direction.
I think tying into the Hetzel family is interesting to me, so I'm going to go with Henry's wife.
That sounds great.
Who I think was like opposed to Henry. I think she was supportive of there being a town here. Like the two of them came out here together. She was friendly. She like invited everyone else to be here and had a relationship with Telly in particular when the Mitchells arrived. And when she passed, it was really a big loss for the community, this sort of matriarch figure. And now no one's there to temper Henry. It just kind of nasty. But she's in the dead house. And I think Telly is hearing her voice. Okay, I really like this being Henry's wife, but I would love to find something like in particular to be here. Do you have any good ideas for me?
I was thinking like it's, you know what I would love it to be? Like the thing, because that means that the common ground that Telly and Mrs. Hetzel shared was like, these are the two true believers of the town.
Yeah.
These are the two people that like care about Neola. And like, if Neola died, these are the two people that would feel it the most acutely.
Yeah.
So maybe it is, tying into her getting a sense of like, this is going to be a bad winter, worse than anybody realizes. Maybe it's like safeguarding. Maybe it's like tiny. Maybe it's hearing the voice of like tiny chores of Mrs. Hetzel being like, you better store extra wheat because, you know that the towns are here now and they're going to want a big feast. They're going to want a big like feast. They're gonna want some extra bread. You better like lock down extra grain while you can. Mail's only coming once a month. You better make sure that any orders that you need to put into for shops out of town get sent earlier than later. Like it's a lot of like almost guilting advice, but it's advice of like lock down the town now.
Yeah, totally. And I think then Telly specifically goes and talks to Maddie about it. And because Maddie's the other sort of true believer in the town who's still alive. But I think Maddie's like, that's weird that you're hearing a dead woman's voice. And there's Maddie's sort of that like, wedge between the two of them. I
also want the town to do well. This is fucked up.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me read our next card. Oh. Great. This is Pearson.
Yeah, I knew it would be.
This has got to be. This is Pearson, and I already know who the other party referenced in the card is.
Me too.
The black locust atop the hill exploded because cold enough to make trees explode is something you can say about Neola this winter. Someone mistook it for a gunshot, huffed out into the bone-cracking, pitch-black night, and alert for bandits shot me square in the chest. Speak your truth and go to the dead house. Pearson, Pearson was out doing Pearson's things, taking like surveying the land and like
just Pearson things.
Just Pearson things, the things you do when you're a weird old hermit who lives in a shack in the woods and kind of hates everyone in your general area. The tree explodes. And I think Hetzel catches Pearson because like both of their houses are the furthest from the hill, which means that they both have to like trek. So Pearson hears the explosion and like starts trekking towards the hill. Hetzel does the same thing with a loaded gun and sees someone moving in the vast expanse outside of the immediate area and takes the shot, and Pearson is moved into the dead house.
Yeah. Does Henry drag him there himself, or does he make someone else do it?
I think Henry does it himself because Pearson was the closest thing Henry had to a friend.
Oh.
They were the two people, we had said that these were the two people who did not want anything to do with anyone else. This was the only person that really got Henry's view of all of this, which is I want out.
Yeah.
I want to opt out. Like, this is the only person that really, like, Henry felt like, Pearson, he gets it. He's good people. He gets it. He understands that this is a miserable pact and we're all on our own.
Yeah.
And now there's no one else that has that stance.
Yeah. I really thought it was going to be Maddie who did the shooting because she was the one worried about bandits.
I was thinking that, but I was like, it was very Chekhov of like, Henry's got a gun. And
he was keeping it loaded. It's got to go up at some point. Loaded. Listen, there's more than one opportunity in this game for some guns to go off, if I recall. So
I'm excited.
The other thing that's really exciting about this to me is normally Pearson is alone by himself and he's such a fucking weirdo out there and he just survives forever because everyone's like, he's such a weirdo, he's hanging on, like what could he do? And now we're gonna get to see, or like how could he possibly die? And now we're gonna get to see Fate be that guy.
Yeah, and what happens when Fate loses like his connection, connection to everything.
All right, next card. Ooh.
Wow.
This is Tally Mitchell again. Rot. I am looking at a crib full of rotten corn and barrel after barrel of wet wheat, barley, sorghum, millet, all moldy and ruined. And I don't know what I'm going to eat when winter lingers. My shoes, probably. I don't even know that I have anything to add. I mean, the image of her looking at that crib is...
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And the one thing that I might note here is, like, that means that she is dragging food inside and storing it anywhere that she can, which really just highlights the interactions with the dead house of, like, she is going prepper. Yeah.
I think I will add this. Part of the rotten and spoiled food here is because James did a bad job helping Look prepare the food for storage.
Okay. I like that.
Or at least that's what Look says.
This is card number 5. I think this is a big one. This is a big one.
I read this card and I'm just acutely aware of, like, I'm in a new apartment where there's no heat in the building at the moment, and so you're really making me feel that.
You're feeling the vibe.
LARPing Dead House. Oh.
This is Look Mitchell.
Mm.
And I know the truth that goes with it. This is Look Mitchell. This cold is like the ghost of fire. It has driven me to an angry madness. I have gone to extravagant measures to keep it out. I've covered the inside of my house with newspapers and wheat paste. Nothing keeps it out and it mocks me, leaving ice on my walls. My rage grows. Building on the last card, building on everything that has been going on with Telly, Look has gotten fully swept up in it.
Mm-hmm.
The resentment that he already had towards James, who was supposed to help him prep and supposed to help him lock things down, all of that is exacerbated. Telly is freaking out and building stockpiles. It is all keyed into the rage and resentment that Look already felt, and he is fully along for the ride. These two have become nothing less than doomsday preppers, and they are locking down and stockpiling, and there is there is a simmering rage towards James that was already under the surface that is flaring up increasingly unavoidably of, you were supposed to help block this. We would have been fine had you not been a miserable fuck up.
Yeah. All right. Next card. I think this is Swyla. A departure. I am dying, not from violence or accident, but from old age or diphtheria. I have many regrets and an unwholesome secret that I need to unburden myself of before I begin my journey to the celestial choir. There's not much time. Speak your truth and then go to the dead house. I'm going to kind of loosely interpret the text of this. I think what Swyla needs to unburden from herself is revenge upon Henry for stealing that shit from her well.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think she like knows she's dying. She can feel it in her bones. She just stomps out into the winter, walks past the town's house. Like Bobley and Junior get this like view out the window of this old woman like walking through the winter like a ghost. And she gets over to the Hetzel farm and chops down the door with an axe and then dies.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah, leaving Velma and Henry like freezing in their home.
Love that. All right, next card. Okay. I've got both of these. We're going to throw some gasoline on some fires here.
Yeah.
This is fate, and this is the accident. I found the person who fell through the ice into the Neneska River just north of town. They wanted a fish to eat, and now they have drowned or frozen. It makes no difference. The body is contorted and hard as stone. The face is twisted into a rictus of terror and agony. Place them in the dead house and speak your truth. James is dead.
Ooh.
He was not the most he was lackadaisical in his preparations.
Yeah.
He did not take seriously the threat of trying to ice fish on the Neneska River, and fate found him.
Yeah.
I think this is a very controversial development. This sparks some things that I think I want to place on the table, which is,
yeah,
this is somebody that arrived in town having been accused of being a murderer, and hated James by the end. But it is unclear, but like the whispers of, well, Fate was a murderer. Like, Fate might have been a killer. Fate might have a killer, and they did do a lot of gambling together. There was a lot of money on the table.
But no one kills my brother but me.
Yeah, there's a sense of like, no one kills my brother but me. There's a sense of like, there's whispers throughout the rest of the community of like, Fate's the weird con artist on the edge of town who's been accused, who like supposedly maybe got accused of murder in Detroit. Do we think that this was an accident? I mean, James was a fuck up. James fucked everything up that he ever touched. And I think Look, more than anyone, is kind of leading this charge of like, do we really know what happened out there? Do we know it was an accident?
Yeah.
Who's to say?
Yeah. Whew. Fate is doing the Ralph I'm in danger meme.
Mm-hmm. What a card to draw next.
Next card. I think this is Bobley.
Okay.
It is a poisoned heart. Someone has been bad to me. Maybe they are just a little too secure in their opinion or grating in their laugh. But trapped in this ice hell, it has escalated and turned into something sour and deadly in my heart. I hate them now. I hate the very sound and smell of them. I wish them calamity. Bobley cannot fucking stand Ralph for having brought her here. He's just sitting around, blowharding around about how it's fine, winter will be over soon, and he doesn't understand, and he's the reason that we're all gonna freeze to death in Neola, in this podunk town out in the middle of goddamn nowhere. Yeah.
Okay, I really like this. Our next card. This is Junior, and this is fear. Some people are afraid of death. I am more afraid of life beyond the blurry boundary that keeps decent people from cutting each other's throats. The things that push one past that boundary, isolation, hunger, hopelessness, aren't just coming. They're already here. People are beasts deep down, and I am afraid. There is an alliance a pact that has formed. Junior has reached out, like they have never really spoken before. But Junior has reached out to Fate.
Yeah.
To say, whispers are coming that you killed that boy. Whispers are coming that you killed that boy. this town is dropping like flies. I want to get the hell out of here.
Oh.
We could go to Chicago, we could go to Detroit, but you are not safe here, and neither am I. I am feeling blood in the air, and we need to leave. I don't know how Fate reacts to that, but there is now someone like visiting Pearson's shack, visiting Fate in this shack, and telling him, we need to get the fuck out of here.
I'm waiting for a fire truck to go by, and then
honestly, timing is immaculate on the fire truck.
So I think Fate knows just how right Junior is, and he's like excited to like run away with him to Chicago, and also is adult enough to know it's too late. We have to survive winter first. And like,
yeah,
you're right. I'm probably not going to. And that, he like tries to hide that from the kid, but like, geez.
So then maybe even taking that a notch further, like, there's maybe Fate is putting onto this kid, like, you need to get out of here.
Oh.
Somebody needs to get out of here. I'm going to do what I can to help you along, but like,
yeah,
I know that it ain't going to be me.
Yeah.
Okay. Final card of winter.
All right. This is Maddie Mitchell.
Yep. It very much is.
Emptiness. This place is so empty that it warps my vision. It poisons the mind. There are people living here who haven't seen proper civilization in years. The wind gets behind your eyes. The desolation sets into your teeth until they crack. All I want is out, but there's no out for me. I think I would roll back the sort of proper civilization language here a little bit, but Maddie is all alone. James is dead. Swyla's dead. She's all alone in her house. No one is coming to visit because no one will go outside in the fucking first place except for like people with a death wish and Junior to visit Fate. The young and foolish and the old and dying. And she just wants someone. She's going stir crazy. She's in lockdown.
Yeah. And everyone that she was in lockdown with is now dead.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is our final.
I didn't expect to add COVID-19 pandemic to the content warnings of this game, but I guess here we are.
Here we are. It is the last day of winter. In any ordinary year, winter would be over, but the winter of 1888 is far from over. We now take away our winter deck, and we pull out our hell deck. Give this a shuffle. We are going to draw 13 cards from this deck. I am actually going to remove the top 4 cards here because it is important for us to not have them on hand. Because if spring arrives, if we draw spring arrives and we have gone through at least 6 cards, then we are going to like put it back in the deck and shuffle it. So we'll pull full cards out of here. We'll set these over here. We'll give the deck a shuffle. So, which of us is drawing the first card in hell?
Oh, I can't remember.
I can't remember either. I'll take the first card because you drew the last. You gave us the last prompt of winter. This is Look Mitchell. This is friendship. My friends in the dead house knew that I'd been done wrong, betrayed, humiliated, ruined. Before the world shrinks to a white pinpoint of pain and misery, I must settle the score, they said. My friends helped me. They guided my hand. I am...
You're also choosing now to put someone in the dead house.
That can be Look or it can be someone else. Fate is the easy option, but I don't think it's Fate.
Yeah. I
think there's actually someone that Look hates far more, and I'm really interested in what happens when Bobley isn't the one to kill Ralph Towns.
He just hears Johnny's through the front door.
Yep. I'm curious what Bobley because Bobley has come to despise Ralph. Yeah. Has come to hate Ralph. And suddenly somebody else shows up with an axe and just fucking ends him. Just cold to the gut, drags to the dead house, throws them to the ghouls inside.
Yeah.
I'm curious how I'm curious in future cards how Bobley processes that moment of this person that you hate has been killed very violently, maybe before you had a chance to do it.
Oh, yeah, better look than you with in front of the kids.
Yeah.
This is Maddie Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
Faith. I stared at the featureless white sky and listened to the shrieking wind. This winter isn't going to end. Matthew 24 says, "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation, stand in the holy place." There is no holy place in Neola. Everything is hell. I am in hell. Speak your truth, and then go to the dead house. I think Maddie... I mean, this is just a continuation of the card we just did a couple of cards ago. She's in lockdown. She's alone. She can't take it. She just walks into the dead house and lays down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Damn. All right, next card. I'm going to go big. This is Henry Hetzel.
Yeah! Yeah!
And this is Kindling. I chopped down all the Hetzel's trees, all the apple and cherry and peach trees. I hacked them to pieces, one after the other, until they no longer insulted the white-on-white horizon. It's always a relief to follow through. Now it's finished, and I'll die of exhaustion or bullet. Speak your truth, and then move to the dead house. Hell House feels also accurate.
Tis the season.
From Henry's point of view, people have been stealing his fruit all winter. From Henry's point of view, this town has become nothing but bandits, and these bandits have been picking clean the one thing that he fought to preserve in his time in Neola.
They're leeches.
They are leeches, and at this point, the only way to kill them is to bleed the body dry.
Ugh.
So he has hacked down his own trees, died out in the cold. Exhaustion and a heart attack took him while he was doing it, and the town's last remaining source of nourishing food is gone.
And Velma probably finds him out there all alone, or just watches from a window inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right, next card. How do we feel about child death?
I appreciate you asking. I'm comfortable with it in this moment.
All right, we're gonna do the saddest possible thing I can think of. This is fate. Good neighbors. There isn't enough in Neola to go around, and somebody else wants what's mine. I know they are coming. I can hear the purposeful crunching of their boots. I'm ready. Speak your truth. One or both of you is going to the dead house. So Fate has been holed up in the shack all alone for weeks now, and is living in fear that Look or anyone else is going to come kill him. He probably doesn't even know that Henry's dead. He's just here waiting and ready and on edge with his knife at all times when he's not asleep. And finally one day he hears someone coming and he's ready, and he moves out and he stabs them, and it's Junior coming to check on him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the moment when Fate remembers being a human being and not just a horrible mass of flesh trying to survive the winter. And it's the worst moment of his life.
Mm-hmm. All right, next card. This is our 6th card, so we are halfway through, which means spring can arrive at any moment. Fond farewells. I think that this is fate as well.
Mm-hmm.
I ate a lavish meal of pancakes and meat grease and coffee and mush and milk and a whole fried jackrabbit. If I had any loved ones left, I can't recall now. I'm sure I kissed them tenderly as they slept and walked to my resting place until spring. I settled in and sleep myself. Speak your truth and go to the dead house. I think no one finds Fate's body.
Mm.
I think walks off I think gathers Pearson's like documents, his ledgers and journals and things, loads them in a backpack, and just walks off into the mist.
He's headed for Detroit.
Is headed for Detroit.
Oh, I think this is Velma.
Okay.
Home comforts. I'm crouched in someone else's smoke cellar. It is lined with stone and filled with bacon and sausage and smoked ham. The floor is a sea of smashed pickle jars, and I have defiled the meat. I have ensured their starvation, and they might just kill me. Go to the dead house if they do, and speak your truth either way. I don't think Velma, like, their door was chopped down. Grandpa's dead. There's nothing left of the farm in the future. I think that she went to the Mitchell barn and started living there. And in her desperation, looks at camera, to have something to eat, like to somehow keep going. I don't think it was even intentional that she ruined the rest of their food. I think she just was caught there red-handed trying to survive. And I think they didn't kill her. I think they just like left her out in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
And probably she froze to death from there.
Mm-hmm. Next card.
We really have stopped having follow-up to any of the cards, which I find interesting. It's just sort of like, yikes, every time.
I am going to follow up with that immediately and say this is... I was looking at the board. I'm looking at the map here. I'm looking at everything. This is a very apropos card, and this is from Bobley.
Yeah.
Grit. I can beat this. If I will. If it means burning encyclopedias, if it means eating mouse shit, if it means selling my soul, I will do it. Spring will come and I will live to see it. Bobley has turned, like, Bobley has turned the Hetzel farm into kindling, into firewood.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there were books there. There were papers. There's materials. There's buildings. Like, Bobley has harvested the Hetzel farm to be survival supplies, right? Like, there's a gun and bullets. Like,
yeah,
Bobley has taken what was left of the Hetzel farm and Pearson's shack and is harvesting these things to hold up in her busted octagonal house. And is going to make it through this snowstorm.
Yep.
Yeah. Again,
she's got 3 kids left. I mean, maybe 2. I can't remember.
I think 2 because I think Junior's 3 of them because Junior doesn't count as one of them.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think I'll just X this one.
Yeah, that feels right. Oh my gosh.
Listen, all right, this is Look Mitchell. Telly's given birth. Mercy. Mm-hmm. The nearest doctor is in St. John, 10 miles away, but someone must get help. Neola is collapsing, and here I am setting out on foot through heavy snow in a savage blizzard. I'll get half a mile. I'll get a half mile. Yeah.
When I read this, I was certain it was going to be Telly and just I'm gonna make sure this town survives and just walks off. But Look is very, very good for this.
Yeah, speak your truth and go to the dead house. I mean, Telly's given birth and like there's complications, and he sets out for the doctor and does not make it. And if we're being honest, I think Bobley like hears what's going on just physically and heads over and helps Telly through it.
Mm-hmm. And with that is our next card. Spring comes. Survivors, speak your truth. This is an interesting moment.
Yeah.
Because
We should clarify for people not looking at the board.
Oh, yeah, right.
Telly and Bobley are the only survivors.
The only survivors are Telly and Bobley, and this is very, very interesting, and here is why.
4 children between them.
4 children between them, but also Telly wants nothing more than Neola as a thing to survive.
Yeah.
Telly, like, this is Telly's perceived destiny. This is what the ghosts of the dead house have been telling Telly this entire season, is that you will preserve Neola.
Yeah.
Bobley has carved tooth and nail and sold her soul to make sure that she and her children survive this, and now anything tying her to this place are dead. She has watched the winter take anything that tied her to Neola.
Yeah.
But also she just helped this woman give birth, and I'm trying to decide if Bobley stays or goes.
I have an opinion.
I would like to hear it.
I think Bobley stays. I mean, I think she's kind of too traumatized to do anything else. Like, I think she's just stuck in the winter of 1888 for the rest of her miserable life. But, like, if she can do that, she can do anything. And I think she really sees Telly as this, like, amazing woman who's going to have to, like, put this farm back together all by herself. And I think Bobley feels like, I can run a farm? Are you kidding me? I just survived that. And, like, Telly and Bobley come together to get the Mitchell farm back in order.
I'm moving Bobley over to the Mitchell house. I think they move in. I think Bobley and the kids move into the Mitchell house, and everything else here falls to ruin. The Sharp house, Town's house, the post office, even Pearson's shack, the Hetzel farm, which has already been ripped to shreds. It is, everything else has been laid to ruin because very much like what happened to the Hetzel farm, everything else is broken down for kindling.
Yeah.
Everything else here is rendered to ash in service of this one. There is no Neola anymore. There is the Mitchell barn. There is the Mitchell farm. Hetzel would have been happy with this arrangement.
Hetzel would be proud.
Hetzel's dream came true.
Just
there is
not
one
for
house,
him.
just not for him. Like, everything else crumbles to ash.
Yeah.
And they just leave the ruins there as they raise their family here on this one broken barn in a graveyard.
So much for the protective power of the octagonal house. Take that, Fowler.
Eat shit, Fowler. If you take one thing from this podcast, it's that Fowler should eat shit.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's Dead House.
That's Dead House. I mean, that is Dead House every time. It is. Yeah, it's dark, but there is something I kind of like playing this game for finding some shred of hope in a miserable ending, because there's always a couple of people left putting their lives back together somehow. And I love that moment. I love these 2 little ladies, like, making a life of it here.
Mm-hmm. This is great. This feels good. This is real. Debrief time. How are we feeling?
Well, I mean, I'm feeling good. Like, normally at this point with a game like this, I would check in with my play partner, as you are doing, and be like, "Woo, we good? Let's make some jokes," as you and I just did. I hope everyone listening is doing okay, because I cannot check in with them.
Yes, listener.
Yeah.
Take a walk, unclench your jaw,
yeah,
stretch out, listen to some calming music, some soothing, relaxing, happy sounds. I am feeling great. This was a brutal story, but one that I feel really happy with. I'm glad we went where we went with it.
Yeah, me too. I love that ending too. I feel like that was a really lovely ending.
Yes, I agree completely. Let me ask you, what was your favorite moment from the experience?
I really loved when you had Look find James and bring James to Look, or excuse me, I really loved when you had Fate find James and bring James to Look, and what that did to paranoia all across like 4 different characters.
Yeah.
Like it was surprising, but it made total sense and it really propelled things forward. It was a really nice moment. And the first moment where I was like, oh, I have no idea what's going to happen in the next 30 minutes of this game now. Great to see.
I agree. I really loved that moment. The other thing that I really loved was right at the peak of when everything was getting bad, like the simultaneous fanaticization of Telly and Maddie.
Yes.
Like watching, or Telly and Melly. I still Maddie.
Look.
It is Maddie. I got it right. Maddie. Yeah, Maddie and Telly, like both becoming fanatically like this town is going to survive, and then watching it fall apart for both of them was very Oh, you know what the other thing that I really wanted to shout out was? The other moment that really like delighted me was Swyla dying. Swyla dying early delighted me.
Yeah.
Because that character archetype, the very Jessica Walter Arrested Development archetype, like felt like it was going to run very heavily throughout. Like it felt like we were going to watch this character wheel and deal, and then the fact that that got undercut very early.
Yeah.
Was like what you were saying. That was the moment where I was like, okay, then everything that I was thinking of how this story was going to shake out is off the table.
Yeah, anything could happen. No one is safe once Swyla dies. Like if that much of a survivor is not going to be able to make it even to hell, then good luck.
That was the moment. This fucking ruled. I'm so stoked. This was great.
I love this game. I love playing with you too. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for suggesting this and for coming on the show and playing this with me. I am absolutely delighted. So, real quick before we wrap up, where can people find you and your work online?
Yeah, so you can find me on various social media platforms at Dunnewold. That's SDUNNEWOLD. You can find the Dice Exploder podcast. I'm actually going to start this over and start it with Dice Exploder.
Yeah.
So the best place to find me is the Dice Exploder podcast. You can find that wherever podcasts are sold or at diceexploder.com. I got a blog going there too. You can find me on socials at Dunnewold. That's SDUNNEWOLD. Blue Sky is like the best there or whatever. And then I'm on Discord and a bunch of random servers, including the Dice Exploder Discord. And that's probably the most reliable way to get a hold of me is to message me. I would love to hear from anyone who wants to get in contact for any reason. I think that's kind of my stuff. In several years, I'll probably have a movie coming out and you should go watch it, but I don't have that to plug yet. And that's me. Thanks, Jeff.
Fuck yeah. Well, thank you so much for this. I am absolutely overjoyed. And for now, I'm going to throw it over to me in the future so that he can wrap up with the show. Take it, future me. And I'll go ahead and stop. Thanks, past me. And thanks again to Sam for coming on to the show. Whew, that game was something special. Like, it was breathless. That's the word that I would use. And that's the word that I would use, like, when we were playing the game, when I was editing the game. I think that's just, like, the experience itself is so fucking cool. And I was so, like, taken aback by it that I'm just, like, over the moon. And I'm so happy that we got to, like, share this experience together. Thank you so much. This was amazing. If you enjoyed this episode, head over to diceexploder.com and listen to the Dice Exploder episode where we break down our experience from play as well as the mechanics involved. Then stay tuned for our September 11th episode with Jason Morningstar where we play Desperation the Isabel. And head over to bullypulpitgames.com to pick up your own copy of Desperation. Then you can check out diceexploder.com, sdunnewold.itch.io, or you can follow Sam on Blue Sky at sdunnewold. Then, once you followed Sam on Blue Sky, head over to Twitter, and as long as that's still a fucking thing. Then while you're on Twitter, follow us at Party of One Pod. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Party of One Podcast. Find us on TikTok at Party of One Podcast. Find us on Tumblr at Party of One Pod. Subscribe to our newsletter at buttondown.email/partyofonepodcast. And join our Discord community at bit.ly/partyofonediscord. If you enjoy the show, there's a lot of ways to support it. You can support us financially at patreon.com/JeffStormer or ko-fi.com/JeffStormer. You can give us a nice iTunes review, shout us out to a friend, give us some love on social media. You can buy some Party of One merch at bit.ly/partyofonemerch. Or, if you're looking for more great podcast content, you can check out All My Fantasy Children, which is a character creation, storytelling, and world-building podcast that I make with my best friend in the world, Aaron Catano Saez. We take a listener-submitted prompt and spin it into an original fantasy character, populating a shared universe one story at a time. You can also check out Yazeba's Bed and Breakfast, which is an actual play about a heartless witch, a cozy house, and the many people making their homes inside. Both of those you can find wherever you get your podcasts. Party of One is, as always, produced and edited by Jeff Stormer and Jen Frank. Music for the show comes from the song Infinite Lives by Mega Ran featuring the D&D Sluggers, and the Party of One logos by Evan Rowland. If you'd like to inquire about advertising rates, coming on the show as a guest, or about press coverage of the show, you can email me at partyofonepodcast@gmail.com. And, unless I am mistaken, that is all we do here. So until next time, thank you so much for listening. Remember to fight the forces of fascism every single day. Remember that self-love and self-care are radical and defiant acts of resistance. And as always, party on, everybody.